Hi friends, this is U.S. immigration lawyer Marina Shepelsky, and I want to discuss today 7 statuses of immigration where you are allowed to have a work permit, work legally in the U.S., and get a social security number. The first status is being paroled into the United States. Right now, there's a lot of people entering through the CBP-1 app at the U.S. border. They're coming in legally and getting the parole status, humanitarian parole status. You're allowed to file for a work permit immediately when you have parole status. The second status is filing for asylum and having your asylum case pending or, of course, approved later on. So asylum gives you a right to having a work permit, the employment authorization, working here legally, and getting a social security number. Number 3 is when you file for the VAWA petition together with your green card application. The VAWA petition is when you're married to a U.S. citizen or green card holder that abused you in a marriage, or if you file when you're abused by a U.S. citizen child over 21. In both those situations, if you've never been deported before, you don't have major problems, you can file for a green card with the VAWA and the work permit based on that. Also, if you have a family petition by your U.S. citizen child over 21, you can also file for an employment authorization as part of that package and get the social. Next is cancellation of removal under 42B when you have kids in the U.S. or spouse or both, and parents who are U.S. citizen or green card holders, and you're in the U.S. over 10 years. That's called cancellation of removal. So people always ask me about this one. They're in U.S. over 10 years. They have a kid born here. They're young kids. They have maybe a parent or a spouse or one of those. You don't have to have all 3. You can file through the judge for something called cancellation of removal. We usually begin by filing asylum and then dropping the asylum case or maybe putting it on the back burner and then filing for cancellation of removal. Finally, the 7th kind of immigration status is actually 2 things I want to discuss. So it's kind of like 7 and 8, but I didn't want to have too long of a list. Number 1 is the T visa. Very underrated and underappreciated visa that fits many people's circumstances, but many people don't know about. A T visa is essentially a trafficking visa for people who are brought in the U.S. to work illegally, or if you ended up working in a job where they abused you in a job setting. Your employer made you work for less money than you deserve, longer hours than you should, not paying you what you should be paid, in dangerous conditions. You know, when you were sexually harassed or abused at work, or not paid, at all sometimes, like they made you a slave. It happens. I've seen it. The T visa then is right for you. It leads to a green card, but of course it also gets you the work permit, and it's not hard to get approved if you know what you're doing. And finally, the U visa is for victims and witnesses of crimes. Now, it's a long one. The U visa now is taking 5 years, and people are getting work permits after 3 or 4 years. A really long time to wait. On the other hand, this is for people who witnessed a crime or were themselves victims of a crime. Like if you work in a liquor store and your store got robbed and you got held up at a gun. But you'd have to show you helped the police or the district attorney put the bad guy in jail, and your help and cooperation was so important that they signed the paperwork to sponsor you for this visa. So this is really the 7 main status types that allow you to work legally in the U.S. There are many others, of course, like withholding of removal and so on. But this video is just about those 7. We work on all of these cases. Give us a call today to legalize in the United States.